All right, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This is another Ask Me Anything where our patrons, channel members, and the Sailing Doodles Navy can ask me anything and I will answer it. Basically, I can organize them by topic, or I have ChatGPT do it because I've kind of just barely glazed over any of these questions. So I try to answer them the best I can for the first time seeing them and get right to it. So you get my honest review and answer there. So if you'd like to have your questions answered in any of the next podcasts, head over to sailingdoodles.podia.com or patreon.com/sailingdoodles. And become a member, and then you'll get your question answered on the next one. So, all right, guys, let me break in here real quick. I was editing this when some patrons and whatever reached out to me saying that some former crewmates made a video kind of like, well, throwing me under the bus, really. So I'm not going to say who or whatever. You can probably figure it out. I'm disappointed by that because I never really talked ill. And I'm still not going to. I'm just disappointed. There's obviously two sides to every story. I am not saying, parts of it weren't my fault. I just feel disappointed that they would do that. Because I certainly am not saying anything derogatory towards them. And I mean, I'm not saying anything derogatory towards them. And I'm not going to. I definitely could say some things if I wanted to, but that's just not a good look. Talking negative about somebody that is in the past is just not a good look. Oh, by the way, I'm in my hotel, so I was editing. I'm flying out tomorrow to go to Greece, actually, to film with another YouTuber that you know. We're going to sail around for a week, so I'm really looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got a full crew. It's going to be great. So with that being said, you don't always get along with crew. It's a tight space. We're having generator issues. I understand, it was just, the air conditioning wasn't working all the time, or it was hot and kind of cranky. And then there's other stuff, but I'm not going to get into it. It's just, I don't feel it's appropriate. I'm disappointed that they did that. I just am. I really am. It's hurtful a little bit that they would do that. I'm sure I could get a dozen former crewmates right now that would make a video saying that they really enjoyed the time and they enjoyed being around me and my person. Gosh, I keep dropping stuff here off. It's a little tiny desk in the hotel. So I just dropped my phone in the trash can because it's right next to it's not next to the trash can. Anyway, like I said, I could have a dozen crewmates make a video right now and do that. So it was nice. I recently talked to Stephanie. She's doing great. She's a doctor now. Really proud of her. She's doing her final semester of, I guess it'd be residency or whatever. She's officially a doctor, I think, but she still has to finish this semester doing that. And then Amanda, I talked to her the other day. She's doing great too. So, anyway. So I want to thank the ladies for coming out. They helped me out in a lot of ways. I can't thank them enough, really. It was good having them on board when we were getting along great. And I only wish the best for them. I really mean that. I hope you guys have a good one and are successful in your endeavors. I feel like maybe they were trying to start their own social media stuff and they're just using that to get attention. So anyway, I'm not going to say anything negative. So that's where I'm gonna leave it. All right, back to the podcast. And so I filmed the podcast yesterday. I'm editing it today. It'll be out tomorrow. So yeah. All right. Well, thanks guys for tuning in, and thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. You've trusted me for 9 years doing this, and I hope you continue to trust me going forward. Thank you.
Hey, my name is Sydney Payne. I was on Sailing Doodles as Bobby's crew member a couple of times, and I just wanted to speak about my experience. I'm in the airport right now, so bear with me if there's an announcement. We'll slice it up, but I am forever grateful to Bobby. I think looking back on all my adventures with Sailing Doodles, I would never, ever, ever imagine doing those things if it weren't for him. And I have so much respect for him and his business, especially a YouTube channel. He's editing, he's doing the voiceovers, he's creating the itineraries, doing all the logistics, and I always felt safe and taken care of. There's not been one situation where I felt like my safety was ever compromised. And when it came to compensation and being taken care of, Bobby always provided financially for us and compensated us fairly. I think, honestly, going to Seychelles was never even on my list of bucket list items. And to go and to sail, but not only to sail, but like get experience on the water, be able to disconnect from this crazy world and just connect all together as a sailing family was such an amazing experience. He never pushed back on me when I wanted to exercise. We followed a game plan, but we always had fun, and I was always able to prioritize my health, my wellness, and I just felt like anything I wanted, if it was my double espresso in the morning, I would get that within reason. And he's awesome, and he's done so well for himself, and I think we have to give Bobby a little bit more credit. And if you ever are on as crew, like, know that it's a business. So this is, you know, an awesome YouTube channel, but at the same time, like, we're living in his house, in his space, and you're not on vacation all the time. So what you do, like, has to be within reason, and it has to make sense to the business of sailing doodles. But I'm so grateful just for the opportunity. I'm always down to come back on board and continue to learn and expand my sailing experience with sailing doodles. So I just want to share from the bottom of my heart, like, Bobby, thank you so much for just giving me the opportunities that you have, always being there when I need something, helping me level up my brand, elevating me, and just allowing me to see the world. So I'm forever grateful and love you so much.
Sid is such a great girl. I really love her to death. Literally, she just happened to text me as I'm finishing up editing this, and she was checking in on me. How am I doing? What's going on? How's she doing? So, I mean, crazy. I was like, hey, would you mind sending me a video? And I didn't ask her tell her what to say. I said, send me a video about your experience on sailing doodles. Anyway, so thank you, Sydney. If you'd like to keep up with Sydney, you can check out her Instagram there. And then she started her own online personal training stuff. So there's a link in the description. You can do that, and you sign up with her, and like she'll kind of coach you in, because she's always been like super fit and everything. So she's like she was very inspiring to me, because she was working out every day, made me have to work out too. But she didn't make me, but inspired me to work out. So anyway, there's a link in the description for if you want Sydney to whip you into shape. You don't have to use her. She's got her little network, but if you'd like to. So thanks, Sydney, for the video, and check her out. All right, now finally with the rest of the podcast. This topic always seems to be right up there at the top. The first section is crew and relationships. Chris asks, why do topics or asks create tension and problems with the crew to the point they leave early? Well, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, it did happen this season, but like the only other time I've had crew that I've asked to leave early, I mean, that's been more than 2 years ago now. So it doesn't really happen very often. It didn't work out with this most recent crew. When I had the 3 ladies on board, I mean, you know, not all personalities mesh really well. You know, we just kind of had different ideas on what was important and all that. And yeah, so you're on a small boat. You're in the tropics. It's hot. There's not always air conditioning. You know, in a confined space. And you're with each other 24/7 basically. And, you know, sometimes people just aren't good fits. You have to be a good fit. I mean, you want to test your relationship, move on a boat with somebody in the tropics in the middle of the summer and see how you do together, in a small confined space. Yeah. Especially if the air conditioner's not working. Like my generator was on and off, wasn't really working. So yeah. Anyway, that's one of the things they were unhappy about, is that I couldn't give them air conditioning all the time. But, so yeah. All right, John, are you planning on having Katie Joe back on board? She would have been good when you get your island spirit. So Katie Joe joined us for a couple weeks in Harbor Island. Yeah, she's great. She's really friendly. We still text. I said she can come back anytime. She's got her own life going on and stuff like that. So, I mean, that's always a problem with finding crew, is that, you know, a lot of people can come out for a week or 2, but I need people who can come out for like 2 months or more, because there's dogs walking by. I hope my dogs don't go crazy. Sorry, I'm in my RV in an RV park, and you know, it is what it is, but I think the dogs are behaving. So, but yeah, she's always invited back. She might come back this fall a little. We never know. But it is hard to find crew that can come for months at a time. Most people have these things called jobs, you know. All right, Dan. The most expensive crew meal purchased and where? There were some pretty expensive ones on this last trip. Again, that was part of the thing. Is that when you're taking three girls out to dinner in Harbor Island, uh, boy, I mean, it's at least $100 a person for dinner because Harbor Island's a very expensive place, and so yeah, the meals there were very expensive, and it was getting very costly having all three of them there. So that yeah, because if you think about it, I mean, we got to dinner so you're talking $400 or $500 just for dinner every night, and that gets real expensive. So obviously, I could not. That was not sustainable. All right, Dawn, are you going to settle down and put a ring on one? What's your thoughts on finding the one and settling down? Did my mom ask you to say this? Uh, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. I mean, I was hoping Amanda and I were going to go down that direction, but it didn't. So, um, I mean, I'm not opposed to it. It's just I'm not going to settle, right? I mean, and that's the hard part. That's the hard part about the lifestyle is amazing and it is fun and I love doing it. I wouldn't do anything else, but it does make it hard to date because I'm constantly traveling. I'm never in one place for more than a few days, generally speaking. So, like, most people, I think it's something like, I mean, I think most of my audience is, 75% of my audience is 45 plus. So I'd say the way that y'all met, hey, hey, hey. So I'd say the way y'all met your significant others is probably a bit, more traditional. You met through friends or at church or at work or something like that. The game has really changed a lot. So now I think it's more than 75%. I'd have to look up I just remember something seeing it somewhere of relationships start with an online dating app or whatever. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm kind of on a couple of those, but like I'm never in one place. So how do you set up a date and all that? So it makes it a little hard to find people in any way. And so yeah, I mean it's hard to do. So we'll see how it goes one day, but we'll see here. Danny, are you having sex with all these women? No, I am not. Definitely not. That would get crazy. So on to the next section there, the future of the boat and technology. So Stanley Burr, longtime patron. Uh, the new boat that's coming, what sort of safety alarms are built in? Fire, electrical, oxygen, etc. Yeah, I mean, all modern boats built to a certain standard have to have it. Like they have to have carbon monoxide sensors, smoke detectors, all that. As far as like electrical and oxygen, I don't know about oxygen, but like electrical, I mean, it does have battery BTMSs, battery temperature monitoring systems for all the battery systems and all that. So it'll notify you if there's a problem there, and it'll automatically shut all that stuff down. A lot of the stuff's automatic. I mean, that's why when electric cars first came out, especially the Fiskars and all that stuff, you heard about cars catching fire and burning down. Very, very rarely do you hear about it now because they have all these automatic protections in their electrical system. They they monitor the battery. They preheat the batteries before they charge them. They cool the batteries if they're getting too hot. If there's low voltage, the battery automatically shuts itself down. All these automatic protections. And so that's also now in the boating industry, not just in the car stuff. Yes, occasionally cars still catch on fire and burn like a Tesla, but mostly that has to do with some kind of significant accident where the battery was physically damaged. If you physically damage one of the batteries on the boat, you really messed up your boat. So I'm not too worried about it. All right, he has a few questions here. On boat safety, you recently detected carbon monoxide leak while sailing back to the U.S. Does the boat have a gas monitor like CO2 and all that? Yes. So it does have a carbon monoxide monitor and it's gone off a couple times. So so I have windows on the aft cabin and then the exhaust is right behind that. There's been a time, so I normally leave those windows open to get airflow through the boat. There's been a time or two when running the engine and then the wind is just right, or maybe there's winds coming from behind where the exhaust comes into the cabin. And it set off the carbon monoxide alarm. So I'm like, oh crap. So I have to go close those windows, and it takes a few minutes for everything to air out, but then the alarm goes off and it's good. When I had the exhaust leak in the cabin on the last sail, there was not a significant enough leak of gas in the cabin. There was mostly water. So, you have a wet exhaust system and a dry exhaust system. It was mostly the wet stuff coming through. So the cooling water. And so the raw water from the ocean that cools off the heat exchanger, for the motor. But no, there was no gas leak in there. But I do have carbon monoxide and smoke detectors and all that. And then he had a couple more questions. Are the wiring diagrams for the new boat's electrical system? I'm sure there are. You can get them from the manufacturer. Let's see here. Is your boat's electrical system 12 volt operated? So on my CT, it's 12 volt. It's a mix. So the drive batteries, I believe, are like 480 volts. So they're super high voltage, just like you would have in a Tesla and all that. And then the house system, I believe, is 24 volts. I believe it's 24 volts. I like 24 to 48 for your house system, just because you get to use thinner gauge wires. It's less complex. Because you put on a 12 gauge system, you're using electrical cables that are that thick, that are half an inch or more thick, whereas you use a higher voltage. Yes, you have the risk of like shock and all that, I guess, from it's a higher voltage. But for me, 24 to 48 volts is definitely, because that's not enough that you're gonna 24 volts, it might sting you a little, but you're not going to die from it. So Taka, is your new electric boat motor DC or AC brushless? If it's AC brushless, there's a better performance. It's better for performance maintenance. Also, are the pops folding or feathering? No, they've played around with the folding and feathering, but it's just not worth it to put on there. Maybe that's something they do in the future. As far as the boat motor, I don't recall. I honestly don't recall. Somebody asked us the other day. I forgot. I used to know they're 65 kilowatt hour rated. It's equivalent to about 88 horsepower. So they're big motors. But I'm not sure on that. So sorry, I can't get over that. Why wouldn't you want to have more rooms on your boat for tools, editing, guests versus 3 rooms? Well, it's space. So I will have 4 rooms. There's my master cabin, which is bigger and has a bigger bathroom and all that. And then just forward to that, I do have an office for all my equipment, my editing and all that. So I can edit in my office. And then I'll have, on the other side of the hull, I'll have 2 guest cabins that each have their own bathroom. I don't need any more than that. I would rather have the space and all that. So like having the fewer rooms gives me more space to put all my stuff. Like the office has a ton of cabinets in there and all that. I mean, I'm sure I can probably fill it all with spares and parts and all that stuff, plus all my gear and all that. And then you've got the 4 peaks on each hull that you can store a lot of stuff in there. The problem is like if you put 6 cabins in there, that's great if you want to charter it, because then that's going to be a charter machine. You're gonna have a lot less space for storing things. So I'd rather do the 3 rooms, 4 really. So what app do I use to help me sail? So for the most part, the Garmin boating app, which is Navionics, I use that a lot. And then also Windy for weather and stuff like that. And then My Radar for weather. Also, I'll use what is it? What is the name of that thing? It's Aquamap. Aquamap has a pretty good for the Bahamas anyway. I think the charts are probably a little bit more accurate from what I've seen, more up to date. And then like stuff like the Moonrise app and whatever, Predict Wind, those kind of things, what I'm normally using. So those are the apps I'm using. All right, on to the next section, crew and collaborations from Amr. Would you consider asking Molly Dixon from Australia to join you? And any considerations bringing Lauren back? I don't know who Molly Dixon is, but sure. The problem is, like, I do reach out to quite a few other creators and stuff, and it's just, I don't know, either not getting a hold of them or something I'm not interested in. But like, I very rarely get a reply, and I don't know, especially somebody in Australia trying to, just the travel distance and all that is hard to do. Yeah, I don't know. I've tried reaching out to stuff to bring more people in. I think it's mostly like probably like like, so for instance, Lauren, like Lost Lauren, that was Amanda that reached out to her, not me. Maybe they think like it's a guy, it's like a creepy guy or something like that, reaching out to him for nefarious purposes. I don't know. But like when I've had, Amanda reach out, it's been more successful. Anyway, with Lauren though, no, I mean, I reached out to her twice. I texted her like, "Hey, you want to come back and sail sometime? Let's do it." And then she never responded. So, and that's been 6 months now since or more. So I was like, okay, if you're not gonna respond, whatever. So, all right, from Bravo Papa, why did you dislike Exquisite Yachts? And is it because they have a commune? I never disliked Yachts. It is kind of an odd design. Like if you look at it, I mean, it's pretty, but it's an odd design. Honestly, I've tried to get on there to film a couple times, and they've always been like no or too busy. So it's not that I dislike them. I just have never gotten on there to do it. They are kind of a little snobby, I think, from all that. I think because they are expensive yachts, and maybe they just don't want the riffraff, running around on their yachts. But I've tried at multiple boat shows to get on one to film it, and they've always been too busy or didn't have time or whatever. So I have nothing against them. I've just never been on one. I've never sailed one. So yeah. All right, sailing and travel plans from Patrick. What are your favorite cruising grounds on the East Coast in the summer and fall? Well, I mean, that's where I'm headed now. Well, in a few weeks anyway, is headed. So the boat's near Annapolis right now. So we'll stop in Annapolis, then go through the C&D Canal, down the Delaware to Cape May, up Atlantic City, and then we're going to go to New York City, stop there in Brooklyn, and then up into Long Island Sound, and then head into, Martha's Vineyard and Block Island and all that. All right, from James Fry. What happened to your map share? Nothing posted since May of 24. Yeah, it was making the girls a little nervous having our location on. So what we used to do for patrons and all that is that I had a GPS tracker and they could get access to it and kind of track where we're going. It made a lot of the girls nervous, so stopped using it. I can understand why. I mean, maybe when we were, because I did that in the beginning too, and I guess maybe when we were a smaller channel and there was less people that could follow us, it wasn't as weird, but we still had a couple people like meet us awkwardly, like, wait, oh, yeah. So like it just for safety, we turned it off. All right, from Wyatt. It would be awesome to see you in the Pacific Islands, beautiful waters, awesome landscape. Yeah, I would love, that's my main thing about getting this new boat is I want to go back across the South Pacific. Unfortunately, it looks like, just because of how everything's worked out, it's going to be a long time till I get back in the South Pacific. Currently, so the boat's going to be in Thailand in December. Currently, my current plan would be to go to Thailand and pick it up and sail around Thailand and Indonesia most of next year. And then towards the end of the year or early spring or winter next year, take the boat back through the Strait of Malacca? Is that the Strait? Whatever. And then across the Indian Ocean, do the Maldives and the Seychelles. And then, at the Seychelles, have the boat shipped from the Seychelles into the Med, do the Med for at least a season, maybe two. And then cross the Atlantic and then do the Caribbean. And then the Pacific. So like, unfortunately, just because of where the boat is, the Pacific is going to be 4 years away minimum. Just because you can't go east around the world because you have, the prevailing winds. So around the equator, which is where you want to stay because it's warm, the winds are always east to west. To get to the west to east winds, you have to go pretty far north, and it's a lot colder. And I don't like the cold. So that's what we're doing now. All right. So yeah, I agree. I'd love to get back there, but it's gonna be a while. All right, UJ and Mikey, ever think of sailing from Key West to Cuba to Mexico or the Cayman, Jamaica, and the New Cat? Yeah, probably not to Cuba unless things change. It's really hard to cruise around there. It's not like going to most other Caribbean islands where you can just island hop as you please. It's there as kind of a bit more like Dominican Republic, where when you check in to one place, then you got to get permission from the Navy, the Port Authority, immigration, customs, and all that before you can move to the next spot. So, and then it's hard to get in. I don't even think we're allowed to go in currently unless you have a specific reason. So, unless those rules change, probably not going to do Cuba. But yeah, I would like to go down Key West and then head over to the Yucatan Peninsula and then down, to Belize and all that. And then that's, maybe then from there head over to Cayman and all that, but we'll see. That's years away before we get to it. All right. From Jody Jackson. What's your favorite memory since you started sailing doodles? Funniest thing that happened while sailing? Craziest thing you've witnessed while sailing? Oh man. I mean, doing the, uh, the, the equator ceremony with, we had Dad and Laura, and we are doing, crossing the equator and all that. That was a lot of fun. Just a lot of the stuff, mostly the memories I have, the craziest and the best were like in the South Pacific, getting to see some of these places and like Indonesia when we had, we were just at this little tiny island, like with 50 inhabitants, and they brought out, they came in a little dugout boat and hung out with us and played guitar and all that, and had fun. So stuff like that. Just getting, and then, we were in Vanuatu and having this old couple come by. They didn't speak English. We didn't speak their language, but they invited us to dinner. We went back to their little hut and had dinner, and they played guitar and stuff. It was a lot of fun getting to do stuff like that. That's why I want to get back in the South Pacific, is because you get to do things that most people never get to experience, and that's why I want to get back there. From Owen Grace, given the need for a workshop and office space, why not have more rooms in the new boat? Okay, so another question similar. I'd rather have fewer, bigger rooms. I mean, I'm going to have an office, so I mean, like, no, I mean, the way I've got it set up, I think is the way to do it for me. Now, if you want to have more rooms, you can do that, but for me, that's the way I'm doing it. All right, cultural and international interests. Bill, when you were in the Bahamas, did you see any semblance of Bahamian Navy or Coast Guard or the equivalent? This trip, no. Occasionally, I have seen the Bahamian Defense Force. I've only seen them one time. We were in where were we? Black Sound, not Black Sound. It was Black Point. I've seen them check a few boats, but other than that, no. Very rarely do you see them down there. They're not there too often. We'll see with the new rules, what they're going to be enforcing and charging more people more money, but we'll see. From Stanley, do you feel some relief now there is a ceasefire between Cambodia and Thailand? Okay, so if you don't know, there was like they were shooting at each other for a few weeks on the border of Cambodia and Thailand. I believe they've had like a dispute over where their border is for years and years and years. I'm not really too worried about it. I don't think it would escalate to anything crazy, and that's pretty far away from where the boat's being built and all that. It is closer to Koh Chang, which I really like. But I don't think anything crazy would go on there. Just because, I mean, I don't know much about Cambodia, but I know that Thailand for the area, has a pretty good military. Like, they have special forces and all that, so I'm not too worried about it. All right, miscellaneous. On a previous videos from David, you said you didn't seem to care for aluminum. Why would experienced sailors like Delos spend big money on a new aluminum cat? I don't think I ever had anything against aluminum. I don't think it's necessary for most situations. I think it's going to be a great boat. But unless you're really planning on doing some cold water cruising, I mean, fiberglass is probably a lot cheaper and easier. Well, I don't know about easier, but definitely cheaper to do. I have nothing against aluminum, but it's just not, I mean, from talking to them, I imagine I'll see them again at the boat show this year in Annapolis. But they want to do a lot of cold water exploring. He's already been around the world once doing the equator route, and maybe he wants to do some more stuff going into colder water. So, and that's just because of ice and stuff like that. And it's, but yeah, I mean, I have nothing against aluminum. It's just a lot more expensive to use. Okay, another question from William. Okay. Similar to the question earlier, did I see any of the Bahamian Coast Guard? Would they have enforcement regulations stuff on the license and permits? Yeah, so like I mentioned, I saw them at Black Point where they did check for cruising permits and stuff like that. I imagine maybe we'll see more of that now that they're changing the rules and charging people more money. But I don't know. Very rarely have I seen them, so I don't know. All right, the final question from Joe. What is the possibility of the pups getting their own channel or dedicated episodes? Probably not very good. I stay busy enough. I already have sailing, glamping, flying, and the podcast. I don't have, and they're in the sailing doodles, so they are the sailing doodles. So I don't really have time to create a whole another channel just about them and all that. So. All right, thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate it. Please click like and subscribe. And if you'd like your question answered on the next podcast, join the Sailing Doodles Navy at sailingdoodles.podia.com, or you can become a patron. It's patreon.com/sailingdoodles, or become a channel member, and you can get your question asked on the next episode. So thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next one.